Welcome. You are in tune to Cowboys Global Cast. And of course, you got your usual suspects here with myself and Tom Tom at definitely Fans First Sports Network. We are DC4L. Tom, how you doing today, man?
Man, doing good, and for the same reason I was doing good last week. We had another soccer game tonight, and my little dudes, they played well again. And it's starting to go to their heads, to be honest. Like we got I think we got 3 on the board in the first half, and one of the kids they're running back to their side, and he looks at me, throws up 3, and then 0. He's like 3-0, and I'm like, all right, man, like, y'all getting a little arrogant. We're gonna get smashed pretty soon, and y'all are gonna get humbled.
Yeah, well, pride does come before a fall.
That's right.
Pride
That's
does
right.
come before a fall. I'm gonna tell you, man. I'm excited. Like as we get into this team, bro. Like I'm tripping. I'm like super ecstatic about what I see from this team. Like the team that we're assembling, I'm ecstatic about it. I'm like losing my mind. And the more and more I see it take form, and the more and more I see it take shape, I'm really like, oh my gosh, this could really happen. Oh my gosh, this could really happen. But today, man, we're gonna talk about wide receivers and tight ends. This is my passion on this squad, only because of the simple fact that it was a weakness last year. Do you agree?
Yeah. So like the groups sort of combined into a unit, like thinking about them as being one unit. Yeah, I would say the tight ends weren't super weak, but the wide receivers were incredibly weak. And so throw them together. Yeah, that's a weak group last season. I agree with that.
Total weak group. So, I mean, the reason why I say that is Dakota had nobody to throw the ball to. If it wasn't CeeDee Lamb, if it wasn't,
Dalton. Yeah, I mean, like he was able to get it. He does his thing, right? His little 8-yard turnaround, and I'm not trying to downplay the value and the value of being able to do that, because situationally it's incredibly valuable. And he got his targets in the red zone, and I think he had 5, 6, 7 touchdowns, something like that. So we're gonna have to somehow replace that. And I'm sure we're gonna get into that. But Dalton, he's a decent little tight end. But yeah, I mean, in the receiver group, it was pretty much CD, and then a bunch of guys that we were trying to talk ourselves into being great.
Yeah, we were trying to do magic tricks to make them receivers, and they weren't. Yeah. They weren't receivers, but. Nope. So let's talk about who we got on the roster right now. Let's go ahead and let's look at our current roster and our depth chart. The depth chart and what we have here was something that surprised me too. I forgot. I didn't even kind of put this out here, but we got Michael Gallup at left wide receiver, and Simi Fioco backing him up. Right wide receiver, we have Brandon Cooks and we have Jalen Tolbert backing him up. Slot, we have CeeDee Lamb and we have Kavontae Turpin backing him up. And then, again, at the third slots at that, because we 3 deep on each one, we signed Antonio Callaway. I forgot about that. That was a signing that kind of went under the radar. We signed him not too long ago as a free agent.
I don't think I noticed that one at all. That's this offseason that we got him?
That's this offseason, yep.
See, with the Browns?
At one point he was. When he came out of Florida, he was a top draft pick. Coming out of Florida, he was the man. He just
it's a name. It's a name.
Yeah, he got hurt. And then Dennis Houston at the right wide receiver and Dontario Drummond. I remember you said, Dennis Houston was out there practicing with Dak, and you were like, it's like they're trying to audition for a prom date, and Dak's the prom king, and they were out there like, please pick me, take me to the prom.
Yeah, it was like The Bachelor. Like The Bachelor, yeah, they were all wanting their rose.
For a rose. Yeah. So let's talk about this group, man. So right now, I think this is why I feel like we're gonna draft a wide receiver, because we have too many unanswered questions. And I'm going to tell you my first unanswered question is Simi Fioco, because he got on the field last year. He actually got on the field. I think he caught a couple balls, couple yards. Not many. You can tell me the stats on that. Not much spin, but he got some spin. And Simi's a 4'3" guy. He's 6'4", 200 and some odd pounds. I mean, literally, I'm trying to figure out, do we turn him into a tight end? Do instead of drafting a tight end, do we turn Simi into a tight end? Or do we run Simi in the slot, other side of CD? What do we do with Simi? Like, I don't know, man. Simi was hurt. That's the wild card for me. He did get on the field. He did catch some passes, but I can't say that he's gonna be this or that. I don't know. He's a wild card to me, man. Talk to me. How you feel about Simi Fioco?
I don't think they're going to turn him into a tight end. I mean, he's just not. It seems like there's two schools of thought to me, as it relates to tight ends in the NFL. And there's one that thinks that you need to be able to block to play the position, and the other doesn't think you need to be able to. And I'm definitely in the former group. It seems like we get these guys, that come in the league and we're like, oh man, he's 6'5", 240 pounds and, and can run like a wide receiver. And it's like, well, can he block? Well, if he can't block, why are we calling him a tight end? Like, I don't understand. It's supposed to, the value in the position is supposed to be the versatility, right? When they're on the field, you don't know what they're going to do. I mean, obviously, right. Like if they're lined up in the slot, then they're getting ready to run a route or, block a slot corner. But when they're in tight, like are we running the ball? Are we throwing the ball? Like, you don't know. It's just the value in the position is, to me, inherently has to do with the versatility. And when you have some of these guys that we just kind of label tight ends and really they're just gigantic receivers who can't block. And is that what we're hoping Simi can be? I don't see it. I mean, this is his second year in the NFL. Last season, he was targeted 4 times. I mean, I just think he's I don't think they're going to turn him into a tight end, and I think he's just kind of an end of the bench guy. I mean, he's one of 3 or 4 probably examples in the wide receiver group of why we really need to improve the position group in this draft.
Okay.
That's my feelings about it.
I hear you. I don't know. My glass is half full with him. I honestly have to say
it is.
I don't know what he can do. You know what I'm saying? I don't know who he can be. Is he more than just a guy? Is he more than just a guy on the end of the bench? Can he really contribute? I don't know. I got to see that.
Well, he's about to be 26 years old and he's caught 3 catches in the NFL. So
but he's been hurt.
I don't know for sure what he can and can't do, but it seems to be that the Cowboys don't think he can do much.
I mean,
I don't know.
He's been hurt though, Tom. So you got to kind of give him that, right? You got to give him that.
Yeah, his rookie season, he was hurt, and so I think that if Simi could develop into a solid number 4 receiver, then that's a great outcome to me for Simi. Yeah. That's a great outcome to be a solid contributing, 4th receiver. That would be great. That'd be great. I would absolutely take that, but I don't really see him turning into much more than that. And I'm not sure he can even be that guy. But
yeah, I agree. So, like I said, I'm with you. We're running neck and neck. And the other guy who I feel like's in the same position, Jalen Tolbert. We drafted him pretty high, so we were pretty high on him. And you know what?
Yeah,
Will McClay doesn't miss that much. I mean, Will McClay really does. He doesn't miss. Tristan Hill, Taco Charlton, okay, all right. You know what I'm saying? He missed a couple on those guys, but he hadn't really missed very much, man. I mean, honestly, he hadn't really missed. So when they see somebody and they put their eyes on him and they say, this guy's a player, I believe that they can contribute. And that's what I'm believing. I'm believing the best for Jalen Tolbert. But, he wasn't hurt. He wasn't nothing. He just was inactive, bro. Like, he couldn't get on the field. and he couldn't beat Noah Brown out. I mean, bro, that's bad to me. I understand if the defense, the number system confused you. You know what I'm saying? I get it. You know, I understand. Like, I get it. I understand. But now it's like, you know, it's time for you to suit up and show up at this point, man. I mean, one of you guys, Simi or Jalen, ain't gonna make it through training camp. I can almost promise you that. One of these guys is not gonna, or they're going back down to the practice team, and that's where they're gonna stay. What do you think about it?
Yeah, so Jalen is interesting because I would say for any third round draft pick to basically not see the field at all, and for there to be multiple games where they were just totally inactive, and not suited up, that is a failed rookie season. It's a terrible sign. It's not a death knell on their career, but that's a really, really, really bad sign. For any third round pick who's a wide receiver. For that to happen on last year's team makes it even worse because we've said this again. We've just beat this into the ground. They had one receiver getting open, right? We were, you know, calling guys, you know, that were on the couch the entire season, you know, in TY, you know, to come and catch balls for us. And Jalen still couldn't get on the field. And I don't know, I haven't seen anything about him being uncoachable or it being an attitude thing. No, I haven't seen anything like that. So I don't think there's any reason to suspect that there's anything going on there. But I do not have the answers other than he looked good on tape in college. They got him into camp and we're just like, this guy can't play. I wish that I had a different explanation than that. But I don't. That was a bad wide receiver room. He was a third round pick and he couldn't even get on the field. They didn't see enough in him last season to just say, what the heck, throw him out there and let's see what he can do. Does that make sense? Things are bad right now. Might as well just throw him out there. Somebody was like, no, it's not even worth throwing him out there because they just didn't do it. Now, I don't think he's going to get cut, although it wouldn't shock me, but I don't think he's going to get cut because he was a third round talent. I don't think that he has to have some tools. He has to have some tools. So I would be surprised if they cut bait in training camp year 2.
Somebody has to. Let's think. So let's play this out. We draft a wide receiver. Kevontae Turpin is our return man, right? So he's not going anywhere. That's our return man. He's not going anywhere. So Antonio Callaway, he was just a pickup for, you know, loose change. We found some loose change in our pocket and was like, here you go. Yep. All right, cool. I'll play for that. You know, so he might go. And then Dennis Houston, who happens to be Dak's guy, his friend, he likes him. He believes in Dennis. They kept Dennis last year after they cut him. They brought him back, right? So, you know, that's why it just leads me to believe that one of these two guys is the odd man out. You know what I'm saying? And it could easily end up being Simi. It could easily end up being Simi because of his injury proneness. He's been injury prone, and that could really do him. But it could easily end up being, you know, Jalen. It can easily end up being Jalen Tolbert, man.
Yeah, so I see it coming more down to Dennis Houston and Simi than I do Jalen Tolbert. And that doesn't have anything to do with anything that I saw on tape with these guys in college. You know, it would have to be college. We don't really have any tape on them, you know, in the pros. But it just has to do with, you see over and over again, you see teams get attached to guys who they have spent draft capital on, right? It's like, even if Dak has more of a connection with Simi and Dennis Houston, even if the coaches think that, those guys are better. If you've got, Will McClay and Jerry and whoever the guys were that scouted Tolbert and said, this is the guy we take, in the third round. I'm not saying all of them are going to insist that we don't cut Jalen, but it's just they're invested, right? They're personally invested. That's not a good look for a scout, a de facto GM, which is basically like, what Will McClay is, an assistant GM, like whatever you want to call him. He's making a lot of the decisions. Like, I do trust those guys to, for the most part, put their ego aside and do what's best for the team. But it's just natural, right? The more you've personally invested into a player, the more you want to see that player succeed, and the less acceptable it is to you to cut bait early on in their career. And so I think things would have to be, I think there would just have to be just absolutely zero hope for Jalen Tolbert for him to get cut. Or, this is Mike McCarthy pounding on the desk saying this guy can't play, and Simi and Dennis Houston can play. And I know that this is like a part of like the bigger point that you're making, and that's that we are going to draft a wide receiver in this draft. And like, we might draft two. That could happen. I don't think we're going to draft two with our first. I don't think we're going to draft two with our first 3 or 4 picks. But I could see us getting one, in the first 3 rounds and adding another one in the 5th or the 6th or something like that. And like, you're not drafting a receiver in the 5th or 6th round even, and just you're not drafting a wide receiver in the 5th round and being like, it doesn't work out, we'll just cut him in camp. No, you're not cutting a receiver that you draft in the 5th round. Like, you're giving him a season. Like, he might not make the 53 or the 46 every week.
But he'll stay on the practice team.
He'll stay on the practice squad.
Yeah, it's just like Vasher. We kept Vasher on the practice squad for 2 years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so Jalen Tolbert, I think he's going to stick around. Like I said, it wouldn't completely shock me, but I think he's going to stick around for another year. And they don't have – Simi they spent a 5th rounder on him 2 years ago. So we're a year further removed. It's not the same, cost in terms of draft capital. Dennis Houston was undrafted. I think it's a lot easier to cut bait with one of those guys than it is, Jalen Tolbert. So I think Simi and Dennis Houston are for sure on the chopping block.
Yeah, definitely. Someone was saying because I did a piece, Cut Creator, and someone was saying that they were looking at Kevontae Turpin, and Kevontae Turpin could be cut, but I was like, no way. We cut bait with him because he's our return guy. We don't have anybody else. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to put anybody else back to return kicks. He's the one. You know what I'm saying? So cutting him, I don't think, there's people that there's people on the chopping block, but I don't think Kevontae Turpin's that guy. Not at all.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. To me, it's like if it comes down to Turpin or Simi or Dennis Houston, it's like you gotta cut two of those guys and keep one. To me, I'm keeping Turpin because he's contributing something on the field right now. And like these other guys, while maybe there's somebody who sees something in them and thinks they could maybe one day be a 4th receiver on this team or something like that, like we're trying to win now, and like Turpin is actually contributing right now. So, he's one of the better return men in the NFL. So I'm absolutely
made the Pro Bowl last year.
He's incredible, and I know that the impact of the return guy is limited. That's not whatever. Turpin, he's the guy. He's the guy.
Yeah, I agree. So, as we're looking and we're going into the draft, I do believe we're going to draft a wide receiver, whether it be hometown guy Quentin Johnson. Now, you do know about Dallas Days, though, right?
Dallas Days, no.
You know about the Dallas Days, right?
I don't think so.
Okay, so the Dallas Days are the days where players who aren't officially a part of the 30-man visit roster, you know what I'm saying, but who are from Dallas, get an opportunity to come to the Star, right?
Yeah.
And Quentin Johnson was actually part of our original 30. He was in. We had him in. JSN was in today, of course. We had him at the Star, and we had an opportunity to talk it over and chop it up with JSN. That's Jackson Smith and Juka, by the way. He's a Rockwell kid. And the linebacker, what's my guy's name? From Arkansas.
Drew Sanders.
Drew Sanders. He graduated from Denton High School. and he's a Dallas guy. He actually came in, and Bajan has actually been to the campus, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Bajan has been there just chilling at the start. So Dallas days, you have a lot of people, and a lot of them have been 7th-round picks. But there was a couple of receivers that were in, and it was just, kind of like, So what Tom is saying doesn't surprise me. We may end up getting a receiver in the 6th or 7th round. That just may happen. They may draft 2 receivers, like a Cedric Tillman, and get down and draft the kid from West Virginia. That literally could happen. It literally could happen. You could end up seeing that happen. And I'm going to tell you, that really, for me, concludes the wide receivers. Now, everyone keeps talking about us drafting a tight end. Kincaid from Utah, I think his back was hurt, and I don't like him. I mean, even though he is fast, he gets up the seam. I don't like him. Let's talk about the 2 guys that are there. I really like Fergie. I like Jake Ferguson. Yeah. I like Hendershot. You know what I'm saying? I think Hendershot's the faster of the 2. He gets busy in the seam. He scored a couple touchdowns this year, and so did Jake Ferguson. We looked at the stats earlier, and they were super productive, man. These guys, when they were in the game, made catches. Hendershot dropped 1 pass, right? You know what I'm saying? Hendershot dropped 1 pass. Fergie, none. Every time he was targeted, for the most part, if I think he missed maybe 3 or 4 balls, but it wasn't a drop. You know
the Dak's quarterback rating when he targeted those guys was really high. I know that was something you were pointing out the other day, and pretty shocking just how efficient they were when they were targeting those guys.
So talk to me, man. I mean, why is it that the people are acting? Maybe they just don't watch the Cowboys. Is that what that is? Is that what that is? They don't watch us?
I don't know. It seems like every year there's, a tight end or 2 that's just so exciting, and I don't know, man. I think people just get overly excited about the measurables of some of these tight ends. They're just really impressive to look at. It's the sort of the Kyle Pitts, types. I just don't know how you could ever talk yourself into spending. What did Kyle Pitts? Did he go top 10 a couple years ago?
He did.
It's just I don't know. There are a couple
of flashy though, bro. Like he's so
flashy. I mean, it's just like some of these guys, they look incredible in pads, right? Like you see him put the pads on, and it's like, I don't know what position he plays, but get him on my football team, right? I mean, that's what some of these guys like. They just have that look, and they look great in pads, and they're fast, and they're tall, and they're strong, but I just.
He ran a 4.3. That's why he was just such a sexy pick. Kyle Pitts was such a sexy pick. And, he had all the measurables, had everything together, the height, the jumping. What they didn't account for is you have to have somebody to get him the ball. You know what I'm saying? So you had to account for that. You know what I'm saying?
And there's something to the position that I feel like that the casual fans aren't quite able to quantify, and I'm including us in that group. Travis Kelce's a 5th rounder, 4th rounder, third rounder. Okay, let's see. Travis Kelce, 3rd rounder. George Kittle, 5th rounder.
Yeah.
Mark Andrews, pretty sure he was a 3rd rounder also.
2nd or 3rd.
Okay, 2nd or 3rd. Yeah. Point being, these are the 3 best tight ends in the league, right? I mean, pretty hands down. Like last 3 seasons, those are the best tight ends in the league. They can all block. I know Travis Kelce isn't known, as a blocker, but if you look at some of the advanced, numbers, you get on, Pro Football Focus and look at some of the data that they're capturing on, tight end blocking. Travis Kelce's a good blocker. He's not elite, but he's a good blocker. These guys can all block and they can catch passes, and nobody was on them in the 1st round in their drafts. So I don't know how I, as a casual fan, am supposed to just.
So forget casual fan. If these guys aren't being drafted to the 3rd and 4th round, it looks like the scouts are missing too. I'm saying?
The scouts are missing everywhere. The scouts and like the guys too. All the guys that have been drafted in the first round. I mean, you look at the top 10 most productive tight ends the last like 2 or 3 seasons. It's like 1 or maybe 2 of them were drafted in the first round, like maybe. And that's like, there are some positions that are difficult to draft and difficult to project. Like I like to think, the defensive tackle position, like that's not an easy position to project easier. That seems like it's way easier than tight end to me. It's just really difficult to know. So
no, but I think it's what you said though. I think it's what you said. I think it's the intangible of timing, being able to block, and suddenness, being able to sell a block, get out and catch the ball, right? That's the mix of a tight end. You can't get that. You can't quantify that in numbers. You have to really spend time sorting through game film and find that out. And even sometimes in game film, it doesn't show. You know what I'm saying? Some people get in the right system and just go bonkers, But it's rare that you see it translate from college to the pros, right? You see the last time I've seen, I think about people like David Thomas and Jermichael Finley. It translated. You know what I'm saying? They were dog tight ends, and that translated to the pros. Was David Thomas an all-pro? I don't think he was. He won Super Bowl, but he was really good with the Saints. Jermichael Finley was really good until he got hurt. He was really good. So, but in Texas he was really good. But again, Jermichael Finley started out as running back. I think there's something to be said with, and Travis Kelce started out at a different position too. I think it's something to be said for tight ends who have that suddenness, that blocking ability, and then the ability to just slip out, that timing, to slip out, catch the ball, and get somewhere, to find space. Because Dalton Schultz was great at finding space, but he didn't have suddenness. You know what I'm saying? He didn't have that.
It seems to me, again, this is casual fan, watching the NFL. I'm not a scout, but it seems to me like the value. So it seems to me like what tight ends are asked of, the good ones at least, is they're running all these option routes, right? It's like, it's not, on this play, you go 5 yards and then you cut right or you cut left. Like it's not a set and defined, route that they're running on every play. It's go into this area and find space, right? And if a quarterback it seems to me like a quarterback needs to see the field in the same way that their tight end does, right? The tight end needs to be good about getting there and finding space, and the quarterback needs to see the field in the same way that tight end does to know what they're about to do. It's like he can go 10 different directions, but I know he and I see the field in the same way, and he's about to go exactly where I would go. Like we have the same instinct and feel for where the seams are, where the open space, like where the vulnerability in the defense is in this just like general area. And I think if tight ends aren't good at that, or maybe they are good and the quarterback's not good and the quarterback doesn't have that same instinct, then I think quarterback just they're not looking for the tight end on third down, right? It's like every time it's 3rd and 8, I look for him and he goes somewhere that I'm not expecting him to go, or half of the time he goes somewhere I'm not expecting him to go, and I'm not going to waste a read. I've got to go to Mr. Reliable, in the slot. That's where I'm looking. I'm looking for the person who's more reliably going to be open where I'm expecting them to be open. And it seems like Jason Witten was really good at that. And really? Tony Romo was really good at that as well. And even after Romo left, Dak still seemed to have a little bit of that going on, with Witten. I know it's a really short window there, but seemed to have a little bit of that going on with Witten. And then it seemed like he, to maybe a lesser extent, kind of had it going on with Dalton. Situationally, and
he really obviously had it going on with Blake Jarwin. Had it going on with Blake. Yeah,
Jarwin. He did. And Jarwin was able to get up the seam. I mean, like he's a very athletic, He had a more complex, route tree than a lot of these tight ends, that we're talking about. But got to have that special connection with the quarterback. Got to see the field in the same way that the quarterback does.
I'm thinking about Jay Novacek. I'm thinking about Novacek with I call him Novacek. Yeah. Novacek. We know that.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about him with Troy Aikman. I mean, you're right. Quarterbacks have a special relationship. Your tight end has to see the field like your quarterback. That's really good. That is really good.
It's like you look at like George Kittle. Like everybody knows, like George Kittle's like one of the best, like 2, 3, 4 tight ends in the league. But like he didn't blow it up this year, and like why didn't he? Jimmy Garoppolo was hurt for a bunch of the season, right? Yeah. He and Garoppolo like have that connection, and you think, all right, well, we get another quarterback in. This guy's not having any trouble. Like he's going out and throwing for 250 yards a game, and like. He's finding our receivers. Like, why can't he find Kittle? Like, I don't know. I'm not a scout. I can't tell you that. But it seems like the scouts don't really know either because they keep drafting these guys that look great in pads, and then they come into the league and they're just average at best. So that's what scares me about, I'm more inclined to do it if it's like this guy's going to be a great blocker and like that's scoutable, right? Michael Mayer, I guess is Michael Mayer.
Michael Mayer. Yeah.
Michael Mayer. I'm not saying, hey, let's use the 26th pick on him because I don't really feel like he fits what we're trying to do. He would fit very well, but I feel like Ferguson is going to perform in that role serviceably. So I don't think we need to spend a first round pick, doing that. But he's a guy I think like he'll be good. I think, the guy from Georgia, what's his Darnell
Robinson. And to your point, I don't think Mayer is Mayer is better than Jake Ferguson. I think they're the same. I think the only thing different, he may be faster, but he's not faster than Peyton Hendershot. So we already have him. If we were going to take a tight end, it would be Darnell Robinson. To your point, because he can block. You have another tackle out there.
That's exactly right. You essentially have another tackle out there who can then give you something extra. Maybe even be like a red zone target. I wouldn't spend. There's no way I'd spend a first round pick on him. I want somebody who's a little more dynamic in the passing game. But
a little more. I mean, he went 4.5. He's 6'7". Everybody's, he got a catch radius on him. I mean, it is what it is. But like I said, he can block. I wouldn't be mad if they went for him at 26, but I just don't think that's the way I don't think that's the way the Cowboys are going to cook. What I will say, McKinnon, who's our third string team, he's out of here. I think, we're going to have to get him a bus ticket and send him back to wherever he's from, get him one of them.
Replace him with who?
Oh, we're drafting a tight end. That's for sure. That's going to happen. I think we're going to draft one in the later rounds. We'll get somebody like my guy from Purdue. I gotta remember. I always forget his name. The tight end for Purdue will probably be one of the guys that we'll get. Or even the tight end from Cincinnati. There's a few out there that in the later rounds you'll get, but I believe they're going to get a tight end.
We always figure out a way to draft. Like I can't remember the last time we didn't draft a tight end. Seems like we always figure out a way to slip one in the 4th or 5th round. But I mean, we lost Dalton, so Sean McKeon, he was on the roster as that 4th guy last season, right? And so lost Dalton. Even if we draft a guy, I still think we're going to carry 4, right? We'll carry 4 tight ends, and McKeon.
Yeah, because I'm sure we're going to run some 12 formation. Yeah, running 12.
They'll definitely run some 12 here and there. Yeah,
sure. You're going to see some tight ends, 2 tight ends on the field. I know we're going to run some 12 because I know he wants to run the ball. Yeah. So I guess my thing is here while we're getting ready to wrap it up, man, I don't see us spending first round equity on a tight end to sit the bench. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just don't see it.
Before we wrap up, I want to come back to receivers, and I have a question that I want to ask you. So, who of the receivers in this draft, who would you spend the 26th on? If they're there, who would you say draft that guy?
Quentin, right off we've said this 30,000 times.
Yep.
Quentin, I'm spending on Quentin. I'm not blinking. Jackson Smith and Juka, I am not blinking. I'm running to the podium with skates on, trying to hurry and get up. I'm trying to hurry and get to the podium. You know what I'm saying? And slapping it out. You know,
I wish I could see his face.
Him. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm getting. Those two for sure, right? If I had to stay put, and the only other one I think I'm drafting is Jalen Hyatt. He's close enough to the first round pick that I'm not reaching. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else, man, Rashee Rice, Marvin Mims. You know, Rashee Rice is another one of those that came for Dallas Day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Dallas kid, you know, went to Northern Hills, I think it was. Let me make sure. Rashee Rice, North Richland Hills. He went to North Richland Hills. You know what I'm saying? So in my mind, I'm saying, yo, I can see we can get a receiver of the same kind of substance later, right? Josh Downs, maybe. I like him a lot. But everybody else, Zay Flowers, all them, nah.
Zay Flowers, so I'm a definite on Quentin Johnston, and I know I have wavered, you know, on Jackson Smith and Jigba, but I'm with you. Like, if he's there at 26, like you gotta give him his floor. His floor is too high.
Interesting number on Jackson Smith and Juka. In 21, the quarterback, and I'm thinking it was in 21. I don't know if it was Stroud just yet. I think it was quote me on this. I'm thinking it was Justin Fields in 2021, the Ohio State quarterback.
No, I think it was. No. It was Stroud. Stroud's been the quarterback there the last 2 years, and Fields was 3 years ago.
Okay, so
the really big year that JSN had. You're talking 2021. Yeah, Stroud was there.
Okay, so get this. When Stroud targeted him, 141.8.
That's his passer rating.
1.8 was his passer rating.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Now,
yeah, to me it's just a tools question. Like, that's it. It's just like one eye, like it doesn't. I don't know. He just doesn't have any of the physical tools, but then he goes out there and puts out monster numbers, you know, when he's on the field. So I guess you gotta. To me, I don't see how a guy like that can't come in and help you this year. So I don't know if he can. I don't know if he can be a number one receiver.
No, we don't need him to be.
Oh yeah, we definitely don't need him to be.
We got a number
so I'm in on Quinn Johnson. I mean, of course, you know, and JSN at 26, and maybe Zay Flowers. Maybe.
Why not John Sam?
He's too small, man. He would be like the smallest starting wide receiver in the NFL. And there's like four guys.
Zay Flowers is just a little bigger.
There's like four guys that everyone has like first and second round grades on that would like literally be like one of the smallest wide receivers in the NFL. Like, I'm just like, what? We do this every year. You know, it's like some of them, like, they end up, it's like Jalen Waddle, like, there are Jalen Waddles, like, out there, you know, for sure, that, like, it makes total sense. But it's like, I don't know, it's like Josh Downs, Daniel Dell, you know, some of these guys that they're just so small. They're just teeny tiny. They look like little high school. They look like little 3A high school receivers. You know what I mean? Like, they just look so small. And I know they're obviously extremely talented, and somebody's going to draft them, and at least one or two of them are going to work out. But like, I just look at them and I'm just like,
but Devontae Smith looks that small. Devontae Smith is tall, but he's frail. Like, I mean, boy's frail. Look at his legs. Look like his toothpicks, man. I mean, for real. You know, I'm looking at him. I'm like, man, how do they not break this boy apart? But he's a football player. He's a football player. He may be skinny, but he's a football player, man.
Devontae Smith is 6 foot tall, though. And I mean, some of these guys are like 5'8", 5'9", $165, $170. I mean, they're little bitty.
How big was Cole Beasley?
Cole Beasley's like 5'9", but I don't think he's like $170. I think he's closer to like 190.
I mean, he's still small though.
I mean, he's 5'8", 175. There's just not that many of them. There's not that many. I mean, okay, so would you draft Cole Beasley in the first round? Would you draft Cole Beasley in the first round? Like, I wouldn't. Even 5 years ago, I wouldn't draft him in the first round. I don't know. Like, I guess he's borderline, but it's like that's what this looks like when it really works out is Cole Beasley. And I don't want to spend the 26th pick on a guy who could be like, this guy could be the next Cole Beasley. It's like, hey, you remember what it was like watching Cole Beasley like with the Cowboys? It was like literally once every single game I was like, oh, he's dead.
Yeah. Once a game you thought it was a wrap for him.
He just died. We just saw a man get killed on the football field. Like that's what we just watched. Like it was bad.
Like,
I mean, good player. Good little player, but
yeah. Wes Welker, all those guys, you know what I'm saying? Like they were small, but they're able to just kind of get in and get out of those crevices, catch balls. I mean, we'll see. Like I said, we'll see. There was a guy that got drafted by Arizona last year. He didn't do too bad either from Purdue. He was really, really small. He was a small wide receiver, but he's not, doing too bad in the league in the slot. But I just listen. I feel like if Josh Downs runs really good routes, and if we're talking about getting open, he gets open better than Zay Flowers does. And to me, that's big because I need Dakota to hit people who are wide open in stride. I need that. But the biggest person to me, I think, from Temple, Texas, you know what I'm saying? Quentin Johnson. That's who I want. Let him slide. Let Quentin Johnson slide. And I'm doing it in my bill. God, let him slide. If he slides, it's on. I want him. If he's sitting right there, let's get it. So that's
I would take those guys we're talking about in the first round. Like I would not consider Josh Downs. We're just gonna have to agree to disagree on that. Jalen Hyatt, that's one. I would not draft him with the first pick, but because I feel like he would be such a good fit, such a good fit in this offense because you stick him on the outside and tell him to go, right? I mean, he'll just take the top off of defense. And with CD and Brandon Cooks, running underneath, I mean, that's going to open things up they're going to open things up for each other. So Jalen Hyatt, if he was to fall, to the end of the second round, I would definitely snatch him up. And yeah, I mean, some of these other guys, Rashee Rice, Marvin Mims, A.T. Perry, these are guys I'd more, think about taking like third and fourth round.
Tillman's there.
Yeah, the only thing that concerns me about Tillman, so we're talking Cedric Tillman, Tennessee, is that his style is like he plays like a big receiver, and I know he's not a small guy. I mean, he's got some decent size, but he kind of plays bully ball a little bit, and I don't know if he's got the size for that to really work. I don't know how well that's going to work in the NFL because he's going to be playing against bigger guys, and I don't know if. I don't know how that style like at that size projects in the NFL. So I don't think I'd take him before the fourth round. And I mean, obviously, it's probably not a lot of these guys we're talking about. Hey, I would, he's second round grade. I'd take him in the third round. He's probably not going to fall there. But some of these guys will, and I'm just talking more about this is where I would be opportunistic and snatch some of these guys up. I'd take Cedric Tillman in the fourth round.
Parting shots. Give it to me, Tom. What you got?
Yeah, I don't think I have much. I kind of worked myself into a frenzy with this draft. Like I'm really concerned about. I feel like that there's a lot of guys in this draft that fit our positions of need, and we talked about it: guard, wide receiver, linebacker, defensive tackle. But I'm a little worried that a lot of these guys are going to be. We're either going to have to reach or there's just not really going to be that guy's not going to be there anymore. It's like Steve Avila, like we love him, right? You're not going to spend the 26th pick on him, right? And like I don't see how he falls to 58. Is it 58? Is that our next? I think it's 58. 58's the next pick. Yeah. I don't see how he falls to 58. Like I don't see that happening. And so it's just I'm a little worried that the way that this draft is going to play out is that unless we trade back and pick up, multiple second, third rounders, that it's going to be a bunch of, that guy that we loved and really wanted, just got, somebody snatched him up 5 picks ahead. So I hope that we can get a lot of these guys that we want, but I'm a little worried that we're not going to be able to. But man, I'm so excited for the draft. So excited.
Yeah. So my parting shot is along the same lines. We were thinking, I was going to say Cowboys. If you're going to hang out to see who's there and then you trade back, make sure you trade back to where we get a 50 pick and a 70 pick. So we get a 50 and a 70, right? Versus trying to, because we already pick at 58. So if you're trading back to, if you go 36, that's cool. But you better make sure that if we go 36, then we need to get another 70, right? That we need to get something like that. So that we get in between 58 and 90. Those are our picks, right? I wouldn't be opposed to packaging and trading up.
You mean trading back? You mean trading down, or are you talking? You're talking about trading up in the first round?
Wouldn't be opposed to packaging and trading up.
What kind of who are you looking at? So is this like Quentin Johnston, like
Quentin Johnston or Bijan Robinson?
Bijan, yeah.
Either or.
Yeah. I've about got myself talked into. If Bijan is there at 26, like I just don't see how you can let him.
Yeah, I mean,
you can let him drop.
If you can package and trade up, you know what I'm saying? Because we got some trade bait. Jordan Lewis, he's there. That's trade bait. You know what I'm saying? Jordan Lewis and our first round pick and like a later round pick. That's trade bait. We got it. You know what I'm saying? I would do it. So my parting shot here at this point, this moment, Cowboys, don't reach. Don't reach.
Yep.
Don't reach for somebody. If our guy's not there, if he gets taken early, start entertaining dinner party. You know what I'm saying? Start entertaining trade partner. You know what I'm saying? Because if Quentin and Bijan are gone, or it look like they're gonna be gone, trade back or trade up. Let's get out of that spot so that and get some stuff that we can use. Because even if we fall back, the middle of the pack is concentrated with talent. So we would do ourselves good by just getting in there, making it happen, shaking it up. We could get in there, get us a Marvin Mims, mess around and get us a Ika, and still get a Steve Avila, and still get a Roshan Johnson, or get the running back from Pittsburgh, or even get I don't know if Jameer will be still there, but I'm just saying we could still. There's talent that's to be had in those positions, right? It's talent. I just don't want us reaching. Please don't reach with 26. Don't reach.
Yep.
I mean, even if we stayed and went BPA, don't let it be a reach. Yep. Don't let it be a reach. And that's all I have, man. But make sure that you lock in with us, man, here at the FFSN Sports Network with the Cowboys Global Cast. We are DC4L. For myself and for Tom, we gonna holla at you later. Peace.